This lecture will go over Chapter 12, Adulthood and the Family, in the Fundamentals Evolve textbook. Adulthood usually begins at 18 years, although people may continue adolescent behaviors into their 20s. As the body continues to change with age, it becomes increasingly susceptible to health disorders, and the person must work harder to maintain their health. We have a few theories of development for the adulthood stage, and first we'll discuss K. Warner Shays, who expanded on Jean Piaget's ideas. We discussed Jean Piaget's ideas in the previous chapter. Shay called the young adult stage of cognitive development the achievement stage. They need to learn and use their abilities successfully. He believed that young adults are optimistic and they strive to improve themselves. They want to apply what they have learned, continue to learn, improve their competence, increasing their career choices. The responsibility stage is concerned with real-life problems, being in charge of themselves and others. This occurs in middle adulthood. For some middle adults, Shay identified the executive substage. This includes being responsible for major corporations or the country. He states that many middle adults with multiple responsibilities learn to function as executives in their lives. They delegate appropriately, juggle roles, and manage complex situations. Erickson called the young adult stage intimacy versus isolation. Intimacy refers to close, meaningful relationships. Young adults establish intimate, intense relationships with other people. Generativity is guiding the lives of the next generation versus stagnation, which is inactivity and self-absorption. This is the psychosocial stage of development seen in middle adulthood. Family is defined as a group of individuals who care about and for each other. Families provide an important environment for children to learn basic values and how to relate to other people. A family's cultural and ethnic background will also influence the family's children. The family support remains important throughout the life. Functions of the family can be seen in box 12.1 on page 165. Physical maintenance includes providing the essentials for life. Protection includes creating an atmosphere for health and safety. Nurturance is providing loving care and guidance. Socialization, interacting appropriately with others. Education is teaching about values and the world. Reproduction, by continuing the species. Recreation, by having fun together. And support, to help and care for each other. There have always been different kinds of families, but awareness of differences is even greater now than it was in the past. We can see types of families on page 166 in box 12.2, and you can see all the way through nuclear, extended, step, blended, single parent, partner, cohabitation, foster parent, and adopted families. Sociologists have identified many changes in family life over the past 50 years. Varieties of families are one example of these changes, and other changes include urbanization. Rural families of the past were more self-sufficient than today's city dwellers. Only a small percentage of the population now lives on farms. Mobility. Many families do not stay in one community, typically due to a changing job market. Some children will attend 4 or 5 schools before they finish high school. Size. The average size of families is decreasing. As living expenses increase, people realize they cannot afford as many children as their parents or grandparents did. Use of paid caregivers. Many children are cared for by others for part of every workday. Fathers' roles. Since the 1980s, men have been taking a greater role in their children's lives. It is also more common for single fathers to be the custodial parent than it was in earlier decades. Increased longevity. Healthcare advances are contributing to longer lifespans. Some families may include 4 or 5 living generations. According to the American Psychological Association, 40% to 50% of marriages will end in divorce. Divorce can be especially hard on young children who may believe that they are to blame for the family's breakup. The children will often harbor guilt and may fantasize about reuniting the family. Older children and adolescents can sometimes understand their parents' marital problems are not their fault, but they are still affected by the divorce. It may influence the way that they relate to other people, especially as they begin dating, and may affect their ability to trust others. Divorce also affects the parents and other relatives of the divorcing couple. The increasing incidence of divorce in the latter half of the 20th century is viewed as the major cause of poverty because so many divorced women have low incomes. Divorce occurs between two people, but the effects will ripple into their extended families as well as the community. Risk factors for divorce can be seen in box 12.3 on page 166. Millennials are people born between 1982 and 2000, now outnumber the baby boomers. Millennials are also more ethnically diverse compared with previous generations. Millennials are waiting longer to marry and have greater success at staying married than their baby boomer parents, causing the overall divorce rate to drop. In our culture, two significant milestones will signal young adulthood. The first is economic independence, which usually happens when a person is employed full-time. The second is independent decision-making. Some theorists say that maturity is a significant marker for reaching full adulthood. Mature people have established a philosophy of life based on their own belief system and their personal ethics. Behaviors indicating maturity can be seen on box 12.4 on page 167. This includes the ability to acknowledge and express feelings with restraint, to laugh at yourself, to accept responsibility for your own actions, to tolerate frustration, to accept diversity and individuality in others, to trust others, to display self-confidence, to cope with stress, to discipline yourself, and to handle problems without losing sight of goals. Most young adults are physically at their peak. Their strength, endurance, and energy are at high levels. Good physical health at age 30 is usually considered an indicator of good physical health in the later years as well. Skeletal development is completed when young adults reach their full stature. For women, this will occur by age 19 or 18. Men can continue to grow into their late 20s. Dental maturity is achieved with the eruption of wisdom teeth. Physical growth of the brain will continue into the mid-20s, peaking during these years, and memory is acute, making learning easier. The ages 19 to 26 are physically the best years for reproduction. During young childhood, sexual preferences are identified, and there may be numerous partners. Because young adults are generally healthy and feel well, they may feel invincible and engage in risky behaviors, such as chemical abuse, overeating, inadequate sleep, an inactive lifestyle, and sexual promiscuity. Abuse of chemicals will often contribute to other risky behaviors. Accidents are the primary cause of death for young white adults. Homicide is the leading cause of death for Black, non-Hispanic young adults. Young adults over the age of 30 will begin to be affected by stress-related health problems, such as obesity, diabetes, headaches, gastrointestinal problems, and hypertension. The incidence of these conditions will increase as people get older. The third health concern for young adults is the development of diseases, especially cancer. Women should have annual pelvic examinations, including a periodic pap smear, to screen for any cervical cancer. According to the American Cancer Society, women should start having screening mammograms annually, starting at age 45 or age 40 if desired, then every 2 years after age 55, as long as the woman remains in good health. Women age 55 and older may continue having annual mammograms. Women should know how their breasts usually look and feel, and should report any changes to their healthcare provider promptly. Some providers recommend that young men learn how to perform monthly self-examination of the testicles beginning at age 14. 15. They should start monthly TSEs beginning at age 15. Both men and women should have annual physical exams to screen for cardiovascular disease, hypertension, diabetes, and high cholesterol to assess for weight management. Periodic Mantoux tests are advised to screen for tuberculosis. In the achievement stage of Shea's theory, young adults apply their intelligence to higher education and to early career development. They are no longer egocentric. Instead, they are more able to reason, solve problems, and set reasonable goals. Cognitive development of young adults is aided by the support of others. Many young adults continue their education after high school. Higher education will help people understand their world, learn to manage their time, and prepare for a career. The ability to earn a living is an important accomplishment of young adulthood. Exploration of vocational, which is trade, professional, or occupational choices, is expected in late adolescence and early adulthood. It is common for individuals to have up to 7 different jobs during their work life. The priority is finding interesting work. Unemployment can be the result of many factors, but it is often viewed as a personal failure, even when it is the result of a weak economy. Gender equality is the movement for equal opportunity and equal pay for women and men. Young women often have a dilemma when choosing a type of work. Concerns about career versus family can cause personal or family conflict. Independence from the parental family is the primary achievement during young adulthood. This is interpreted as living on your own and making your own decisions. The trend towards young adults being boomerang children, which are children who return to the parental home temporarily, has grown considerably as children find it difficult to make sufficient money to establish a home of their own. Erickson called the young adult stage of psychosocial development intimacy versus isolation. It is important that people continue the development of meaningful relationships with others. If this task of developing intimacy is not accomplished, the young adult might not trust others and may be hesitant to develop close relationships. This could lead to withdrawal and depression, or the isolation. Independence precedes the need for developing intimacy and sometimes may conflict with it. Personality development continues throughout the lifespan. Major personality changes in adulthood are not likely to occur. Changes that a person wants to make require self-analysis and a lot of work. Deciding whether or not to marry is a major concern in young adulthood. 90% of Americans do eventually try marriage. The average age at first marriage is 27.8 years for women and 29.8 years for men. These ages are increasing as more people are choosing to delay marriage, often for higher education. Although opposites may attract, successful marriages often involve partners who share basic values and philosophies about life. Married people are generally healthier and happier throughout their lives. Single adults include those who have never been married and those who are widowed, separated, or divorced. In the United States, people who live alone make up about approximately 27% of households, an increase from previous years. Many people become parents during young adulthood. The National Center for Health Statistics reports that the average age for first-time mothers is 26.6 years of age. The birth rates are declining for females 15 to 29 years of age and are increasing for women in their 30s and late 40s. Some women delay having children in favor of career development. They might then have trouble with conceiving after age 30 as fertility declines. By age 40, a pregnant woman is statistically considered a high-risk pregnancy. Childbearing, however, is only the beginning of parenting. Most people learn about parenting from the examples seen in their childhood. Many young families today do not live near other family members and can struggle with child-rearing issues. The tasks involved in making life run smoothly will need regular attention. Having groceries on hand, keeping the house in order, managing money, doing laundry, having the oil changed in the car, cleaning the refrigerator. These are examples of tasks involved in home management. Friendships beyond the extended family are valuable. Young adults who are confident, outgoing, and willing to be active in their community have a good chance of succeeding. Being involved in a community and community affairs is another mark of young adulthood, as people begin to think about the world beyond just themselves and their family. Examples of this include joining a service organization, being involved in the religious community, or being active in a local government. Middle adulthood is from ages 46 to 64. Middle adults are often viewed as being in the best years of their life, as wise and powerful leaders. The oldest baby boomers reached middle age in 1990s. This large group of people will have a major effect on U.S. society at every stage of their development. The rate of change, even changes of aging, will vary among individuals. Individuals who exercise regularly, eat sensibly, and take care of their bodies can often delay some of these changes. Men commonly add inches around the waist as body fat increases by about 30%. Women's body fat increases by nearly 40% and is often added to hips and thighs. It becomes more difficult to lose weight. One common occurrence is presbyopia, or decreased flexibility of the eye lens. This makes near vision more difficult, leading to the need for reading glasses. Cataracts can develop during the middle years. Presbycusis, or the loss of hearing, begins in early adulthood, but rarely becomes apparent until later on. The ability to hear higher pitched sounds is lost earlier than the ability to hear lower sounds is. Noisy work settings and loud music can contribute to eventual hearing loss by damaging auditory nerve endings. Muscles throughout the body lose tone and elasticity during the middle years. Reaction times may also slow. This puts the patient at risk of injury. Blood pressure increases as arteries become less elastic. Thinning of the scalp hair can occur in both genders. Both males and females produce sex hormones. As middle age proceeds, the balance will shift slightly in the amount of estrogen and testosterone produced. This is most obvious in women. The decrease in estrogen production in the mid to late 40s will cause menstrual changes and eventually menopause, or the cessation of menstruation. The average age of menopause is 51. This will end the reproductive years and can be accompanied by minor physical and psychological signs and symptoms. Sexual ability will not decline as the person ages in either sex. Health status becomes a great concern in middle adulthood. Lifestyle, heredity, and the use of the healthcare system are major influences on the state of health. Health screening for diabetes, risk factors for heart disease, hypertension, and colon cancer should occur at regular intervals. Leading causes of death in the 50s and 60s are heart disease, cancer, chronic lower respiratory disease, accidents, and stroke. Shay's stages of responsibility is seen as middle adults manage the complexities of their lives. Creativity is believed to peak during middle adulthood. Middle adults often need to work harder at remembering things, and many will find lists and notes to be helpful to them. Satisfaction with work is a part of the cognitive development. It will increase throughout the life for most men and women. Most career advancement will occur during the 50s. Middle adults will begin to realize that their own lifespans are limited, and they may want to try new areas of interest while they have the time. Both men and women who choose to place family concerns ahead of career goals may now find that their career advancement is slowed. Middle adults should develop interest outside their work. Leisure activities can be helpful ways to reduce stress. Hobbies can also help people prepare for retirement by providing fulfillment. Many adults discover that returning to college is rewarding and challenging. Women who choose to raise a family before their developing career are especially likely to prepare for new jobs and new lives in midlife. Relationships with other people will remain the focus of psychosocial development in the middle adult. The marital relationship often grows from romance and passion into the affectionate love of middle adults. Changing roles and responsibilities can create or intensify marital problems. The empty nest syndrome, where children have left the home, causing a sense of loss. can affect some middle adults who have centered their lives on their children. They may need guidance in finding additional interests. Whether single or married, middle adults need to have close friends. Friends and siblings find more time for each other once the time-consuming work of parenting is past. Most studies of middle adults involve those whose children are leaving or have left the parental home. Parents will gain satisfaction in realizing that their child is a young, responsible adult. Grandparents will usually enjoy babysitting at times and inclusion in the younger family's life. The relationship with aging parents is another concern in midlife. Family dynamics may improve as children realize the sacrifices and guidance that the parents provided. Some middle adults find themselves in the sandwich generation, with dependent children at home and dependent older adults needing care. Daughters and daughter-in-laws often become the primary caregivers for the older adult parents. Open communication within the family can ease some of these adjustments. Erikson's middle adult psychosocial stage of generativity versus stagnation is most easily seen in parents whose children have become young adults. However, people who are not parents or those whose children live far away often get involved in nurturing younger people. Middle adults are often mentors, which are teachers or coaches, to younger adults in some settings. Some adults are said to experience a midlife crisis, but most psychologists say that that's not a common issue. Middle adults realize that they are no longer young. They begin to evaluate their self-concept and their role in the world. Middle adults accept that life is not simple and that circumstances occur over which they have little to no control.